Moments like this mean so much to me because I don't take for granted having the opportunity to carry any level of influence. I think it's a tremendous blessing of God anytime you have the opportunity to impact and to influence someone else's life. And to be quite honest, because I'm very, as they say, real. We say revealing, exposing, authentic, and legitimate. I'm real, and I try to be authentic, and I try to be, genuine, and I'm going to be totally honest. Typically, when I prep for these, I'm spending a lot of time. I'm writing notes, and I got a little cheat sheet up here and a little outline. And the more I kept trying to pray and think about, like, okay, which one could I pull out the back pocket and get them? I just couldn't move past what God kept praying upon my heart. And what that is something that we all kind of have in common, and that is dealing with transition, right? When you get to moments of change in your life, when you're trying to figure out how to move forward, and you're not where you used to be, but you're not exactly where you're going, and you're in this in-between state. I think back over my career, and I think about when my career ended. It was one of the worst moments of my life. My career did not start the way I wanted it to, nor did it end the way I wanted it to. And when it ended, I was very disappointed because I didn't get to choose how it ended. And I remember going through a very dark and lonely place because I was trying to figure out, how do I re-identify who I am? Because forever I lived by what I did instead of who I was. And for the first time I realized the crowd's not cheering anymore, the lights in the stadium are not on, and nobody's asking for my autograph. And I had to look in the mirror and determine who I was. But the truth of the matter is that it was just a moment of transition and change of me becoming what I was not into what I would be. And it was a far greater impact than anything I could have ever done on a football field. It's hard to know that at the time because the moments of transition are uncomfortable. They make you feel unsure. They make you doubt yourself. They make you question what tomorrow looks like. And the only way you're going to ever know that is if you seek God. Listen, I used to play basketball too. I know I'm not that tall, so don't judge me. I used to be able to hoop, for real. Used to is the operative word, because I can't even shoot no more. But I remember I used to play basketball, and any hoopers out there understand what it means to pivot, right? It's where you're given the opportunity to plant your foot in the foundation of where you are and what it is that you're doing, and with that other foot, you get to move around, right? They call it a triple threat stance. See, I'm telling you, I got it. They call it a triple threat stance. And you have an option legally to change your direction to seeing something different than what you're seeing in the moment. Because the goal is to try and find the least path of resistance and the clearest path that you can follow. You see, what you guys don't understand is that you're in a pivot moment. And the difficulty for me is that I could not label it as a pivot because the way I'm wired, I'm so competitive and I want to be excellent and I want to be the best in everything that I do. And so the moments that God was leading me to pivots, I looked at it as failure or quitting. And so all of a sudden I had to shift my thinking, shift my mode of the way that I was doing things, because it was not about me quitting or me failing, but it was just about me shifting my focus to the next thing. Why am I telling you this? Because you're sitting here today and you're right in the midst of what I want to refer to as a shift. I used to have little notes up here. The only thing I have here is fresh off the press, directly from God. Literally 2 hours ago, one thing I wrote down, and it's the shift. And when you look at this word shift, the S is for self. The first thing you got to do is deal with yourself. The only way you're ever going to get the help that you need is if you're willing to admit that you need it. I don't care if you're in a 10-step program, 2-step program, 50-step program, you will never accomplish what all of those steps entail and what are necessary in order for you to get to the other side if you never get past step 1. And that's simply to say, I need help. I got to deal with me. I got to take self-accountability. I have to be responsible and accountable for the next phase of my life in order for me to see the change and the pivot that I want. Then you have the H. The next thing you got to deal with is your heart. There's a scripture that says that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So the way I think in my heart, first off, I never heard of a heart that could think. And part of the reason why is because the things that come to your heart come from your head. And when you deal with your heart, you deal with your mind. You deal with the way that you think. Because you're transformed by the renewing or the changing of your mind. It's the only way you're ever going to see anything different and force yourself to do something different, to have something that you've never had before. Then you got to deal with influences. You get to choose what influences you. You don't have to succumb to the things that are there that will impact or influence you haphazardly, but you can make a conscious decision that the things that will influence you will only help you move forward and progress you into where it is you're trying to go. Then the F, you got to deal with your feelings. In order to shift, you got to deal with your feelings. And you might be saying, well, my feelings are temporary and they change every single day. And that might be true. But what you must understand is that your feelings, if not dealt with, would lead to your emotions. And then your emotions deal with your habits. And your habits are the decisions that you make. And that all starts with garnering and controlling your feelings. Not allowing yourself to get outside of who you are in an emotional moment. That's what people that shift have to do. And then lastly, the T, you got to change the way you talk. The Bible also says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when I told you to deal with that heart, it was so that you could deal with your mouth, because what you speak will become the reality that you live. And so it's important that the words that you use align with the life that you live. And your expectation and your hope matches the decisions that you make. Because every day what you do in dealing with your feelings will walk you down the pathway towards your destiny and your purpose that you were designed and created for. And so with all that being said, why am I talking about shifting? Because today is your shift day. This is your shift moment. This is your moment to pivot. When you walk out of these doors, your life will never be the same again. And you ask me how I know? Because I've lived it. I've lived what it means to overcome disappointment, to deal with my own bad decisions and mistakes, and still be able to walk in a level of purpose that only God can provide. And I believe that's what He'll do for you all on today. Congratulations and God bless you.